moderation feels safe. Oh no, what is going on here? Someone says, I need to learn about moderation helps everyone feel safe. Ooh, so close, moderation. Well, hello everyone. Hi there. Hello everybody there. Welcome to the monthly live stream for October. It's a week late. I did a pre-recorded video for last week because I had my OSA graduation ceremony for the students. We had a recording. We had to go there and they had to do this. If you follow my social media on Facebook, you can see some of the pictures of the thing my wife took. We went with my wife. I wore my suit jacket, wore my bow tie, and we were see the students graduate. I refused to put on the robes because if you're gonna do graduation, you should do graduation right. I mean, post graduation, OSA wants to be an imitation American high school style. And they don't, I need to get the money. I need to buy my doctoral robes. I want my doctoral robes. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it properly with my hood, doctoral hood and the colors and things like this. And that's how they do that. So this is this week. This week is, October. It's the second weekend of October. So Friday of October. So usually I like to do this earlier, but like I said last week, I was going to do it last week, but then I realized last minute my schools. I remembered. Oh my God! I thought it was Saturday. No, it was to be done at like 4:00 until we didn't get back until like 7. So it was like traffic was horrible, disastrous. Well, all that's that. So therefore, this week we're doing the live stream. So what about the live stream? Videos. Well, as you know, if you're following the video, our current tread of videos I'm still finishing up Rousseau. We had a little problem with Rousseau. I was like, when I went to book 3, I kind of broke up my original video for book 3 was going to be chapters. It was actually, I forget what week. I think it was 2, the ending of 2. I broke up something that was going to be a little longer. I broke them into 2. I didn't like that in that sense. I kind of like, but then I'm right now finished today. I'm at the end of 3. Next video I'm doing is going to be wrapping up book 3. So the last couple of chapters of book 3, finishing it up, and then doing book 4 of the social contract. So that's the progress on social contract. So what is going to do next after social contract? This is the thing. I probably will do political economy. The problem with political economy, it's too big to do just one video. It's 20 pages. I might do I might just divide it into 2 parts, 3 parts, and more than 20 pages. It's basically it ends on page 236. Sorry, 236 minus, and then 209. So it's around 27 pages. So I might divide it into 4. Divide it into 4 things, 3 or 4 things. Simply just to kind of like get it to work. I've been doing like 3 to 5 pages per video anyway. Some of the pages were longer. Some of these are things. This is a shorter video on this. I will do political economy, the short little essay by Rousseau on political economy, simply because it ties in perfectly to what was said here. I think this has been a good doing Rousseau. I've done Locke already. Someone says, well, why don't you do Hobbes? And I don't really want to do Hobbes. Hobbes is one of those painful books reading. I've read it so many times. This is a book I've read many thoroughly things sometimes, and to be honest with you, it drives me absolutely crazy. I just did a seminar on Hobbes We did a seminar on Hobbes. We didn't read it. We did. I have it online in my university thing of basically a working group of the work. So part of me doesn't want to do Hobbes. The next thing my reading group will be looking at after we finish this week. This 2 weeks we're doing Thomas More's Utopia book. This week, this book 1, and next week book 2. The reading group I'm a part of. We're going to be then after that looking at Plato's Laws. We'll do Plato's Laws. I would be tempted to do Plato's Laws. Ooh, what is this? What is this? Ooh, hold on. Did I get a boo-boo? Did I get something happen here? Hold on. Pardon me. Ah! No, it's nothing. I think what happened here is a piece of something fell here down here. And it was like, hi there. And it was, ouch. So please forgive that. Okay. I think something fell down the shirt and it like, I think maybe a big bug, no, dying. So that's what I'm planning on doing. And I said I might do, so I'm kind of like thinking, do Rousseau. Then I'm thinking that I'm thinking of doing Nicomachean Ethics. Do an ancient book again, doing Nicomachean Ethics. I will finish the Schmitt, which is going to take longer than I thought in that sense. I was going to, in fact, you'll see this in one of the videos next week where I actually had 1A, chapter 1, the first part, because it was divided logically into 2 different things. I broke it up in 2. I just did 9 pages. It was much longer than I thought it was going to be. And what ended up happening is, and also because of, I'm using Google Books Play, downloaded. I bought the download. I spent some money buying. Oh, I'll be a good boy and buy the PDF. So I can use, dictionary and I can do things like that, so students not have to do like the things. But then, to be honest with you, the PDF pages are all frigged up. The pages are all kind of, and you don't know what things are. So I've been kind of using the PDF as well as that, just to kind of verify it. And I think my next chapter is going to be divided in 2. My next thing I have to record is the Baudin, the commissary Baudin. And I think I'm going to have to divide it in 2 because it's too. Maybe I can do it in one video, but I'm a little worried about it. So Schmitt has been. Dictatorship has been. I'll be honest with you guys. Dictatorship has been a very odd book to read. I read it quickly. I mean, reading it aloud changes the way you see things. When I read it myself, the way I read it, I read things quickly. I read it. I've been noticing things that the translation has been making my eye raise a little bit. I've noticed certain translation things that made me kind of, and I reviewed this positively when it first came out. I was really happy this finally came out. This is a book that needed to be done, and I was mostly happy with what I saw of the translation. It was, it was better than that girl Draga. This woman Draga has been doing translations of Schmitt, and they're usually horrible. Her Land and Sea, which is mostly available online, is she did in fact she did Tyranny of Values. And it was like, what's going on? She self-publishes her translations. They're out there. And I was kind of like suspicious, always been kind of, I said, because translations of things are hard to get. And therefore, of Schmitt, and a lot of Schmitt is not available. It's still in German. And like a lot of his early stuff on law is only available, is only available in the German. And to be honest, some of it should be translated. The recent one by Telos with the Smarter essays, which had some Hobbes essays and even Tyranny of Values, was good. And some of the war essays were essays on war that were less known. People really love the nomos. I don't particularly like the nomos of the earth as much. I think this is more of his international relations theory. And it's interesting. I do teach international relations, but I don't. I think, and it's kind of what natural law kind of is the idea of the international law and the way international law emerges, the idea of the European states. It might be interesting in that sense, but the layout structure is completely chaotic, and it's difficult to divide it up into reasonable chunks. Dictatorship was I think is an essential book. It is a kind of like a genealogy of the concept of this concept in history of concepts. And Schmitt does outstanding historiography. The historiography of the sources that he's done for the book is outstanding, given the limitations of some texts at the time. I forgot about, and actually, I haven't read for decades. 2 decades ago, back in the 80s and early 90s, I read some of these. In the 80s and 90s, I read some of the Dutch Revolt stuff and things like this. I bought a very good edition by Glenn Sunshine. Glenn Sunshine was a colleague of mine at Central Connecticut. He edited a volume of these Reformation thinkers and texts, and he published a new edition of Vindication contra Tyrannus, Vindicatio contra Tyrannus of Janus Boudris, which is a kind of a Dutch text that is kind of justifying against monarchicalism. It's called the monarchianism. And Schmitt uses the old word. I was starting to figure, what the hell does that mean? I knew this word. I mean, I even remember that someone like Styx kind of talks about himself as this. Or kind of, this, not a monarchistic, not pro-monarchy, it's one against monarchy. It's like, so it's an interesting thing of these anti-Hobbesian writers, these writers who prior to Hobbes, about the time of the Spanish, it's this Dutch Revolt, the rise of the Spanish king and his justification of suppression of the Dutch. And its defense, it follows the other constitutional writer of Althusius's politics, but it's not Althusius. Althusius is not part of these people. These are trying to justify Republican rule. It's kind of like, and these Dutch writers do influence someone like Milton in the Reformation. Milton's book on the right, political treatise, political writings. So this is therefore this is, there's a point in this talk about the commissarial dictatorship, which had to break in 2 sections because it just was. I had a visitor. I'll talk about my visitor soon. I had to stop. I couldn't do it. I had 10 minutes to my visitor showing up, and I didn't think I could do it. And I said, how long is this? And I said, oh my God, it's way too long. It's going to be an hour, 2-hour video. And I said, I'm not going to make a 2-hour video. So I stopped the video. I then, after the meeting with my friend, after he left, I then continued the video of that with the second part. And that's why it's going to have on the corner of the screen, it's going to say part 1 and part 2 in red, not because it's an alteration from the plan. I had no space right next to the main part where the title was. I had to put in the corner, and I go, I should have redone the video. My wife complains about my graphics, but then again, I'm not as bad as the old graphic covers of my buddy, not my buddy, but someone I know well. Know well, but we kind of chat with Ed Dutton. Ed Dutton's old thumbnails were like really out there, So he had an artist. He used to hire, some of his people would do the artist things and make them up. Like, I'm not that creative in that sense. I just like a simple screen with the title of things Cliff Bates presents, then the title of the thing, the book, and the title of the section I'm doing, then a picture, my picture, a kind of a photographic, either a photograph or the artistic rendering of me, then what do you call it? Then I put the picture of the author I'm dealing with, or maybe two pictures of dealing with that, and the picture of the book sometimes, the picture of the book or the translation I'm dealing with. Okay, so the original German, original language book, and then the picture of the translation. This is the kind of image. This is the trajectory I was trying to accomplish. I'm thinking in the spring I will do the Prince again. I'm hoping I will try to do this. I might I might be getting a job someplace else in Warsaw just to do it. And if I get the job, I'll do the spring. I will make the new video of the Prince in order to kind of arrange it to do it with I think I'll teach Prince. I love to teach Prince. I love to teach Prince. It's one of those books about leadership and statecraft. It's marvelous. I could teach the. It's more difficult to teach the discourses because the discourses are just too big, and you can't do it in 15 sessions. You can't. There's no way. You can crunch it. You could crunch it to a great degree, but if you crunched it to a great degree, you would not be able to really go in any real depth. And the secret of the Prince, even though it's very short, it's a book that you just go into and expand into it. You keep on expanding. It's perfectly like that. And that's why I think the Prince is worth reading and always reading as a student. So that's the reading books. There's the recordings. How this going? Like I said, this week was this past 2 days. I had a visitor. Yesterday, my friend Matthew Timon. He's coming to see, because in Poland there's going to be elections on Sunday. The government's going up for elections. I might talk about that for a second at the end, about the politics of the week. He's coming here to watch it. I was supposed to meet Christopher Caldwell, but he came last week and he didn't stay long. He came quickly, didn't really stay long. I was hoping to see him again. Chris Caldwell is a very good, we know what kind of he's kind of been Tuckerized on Ukraine, and I just don't see that and I think it's out of ignorance. He's buying the ticket from what I call the Hungarians, and the Hungarians are selling it not truthfully, but the Hungarians are selling this kind of because they're utterly economic dependent upon Russia. I mean, I understand why Orban is doing what he's doing. He's doing it because his whole economic policy rests on the Chinese. Good morning. Hi there. Orban really just rests. I mean, his energy policy. If the Russians cut off his energy, his economy flops down, and he'll be thrown out of office. And now he brought in Chinese industries, which is the worst decision. Hi, Peter from San Francisco. Good morning. So I understand why Orban is doing what Orban is doing. He's basically fucked if he does anything else. If he pisses off Putin, he is fucked. It's not because he loves Putin or likes it. He's just fucked, and therefore that's the reality of why he's doing it. And the American right are being snookered by him. They don't see that this is not out of principle or belief. This is out of, I have a gun to my fucking head, and if I don't do this, I'm a hostage. And if you don't do this, I'm fucked. Okay? So he's here. I'm told that he's doing some work. Matthew's doing some work and research. He's going to make a video. I can't talk about what he's going to do the video on, but he's going to be great. He's going to make a documentary. It's going to be very interesting. Those who know Matthew and his work is controversial in that sense. He goes often on War Room with Bannon. I'm going to have a fight with Bannon. I think Bannon is more problematic. I think Bannon is kind of not as bright as he thinks he is. I mean, he's an ex-military guy. He was, in the military, Navy officer who got work in finance and is a good finance. He is in a good situation of finance, and was like this, and then became the money person and produced videos and helped Breitbart produce and generate things. He was a money man. He understood money. And this is the problem with money men, or even anyone who has expertise. This is my problem with Yarvin. Yarvin is a brilliant mathematician and kind of a relatively good programmer, but and a swap technique architect thing. I think the problem here with people like this is they're ignorant in other things. No, they're not that bright. Then I mean, he talks about it being a Navy brat, a military brat, and Yarvin, and Yarvin thinks he's a God's gift to brilliance. I'm sorry, I have a hard time reading his Mobuck blogs. His Mobuck blog is just like it's the same problem. Okay, it's my same problem with Bronze Age pervert. I can't read it. It just, I mean, it's interesting. It's okay. I mean, there's some interesting things to be said, but the style just like, okay, what's there? What is the style there? Bronze Age pervert is better than Yarvin, I think. This is a sad part about it. I think it's because he's deeper. He has a better understanding of Nietzsche and he's better understanding of the philosophers. So therefore there is that. And although I think there's a kind of childishness but I think that is his appeal. Is you have to be a whore to be popular in YouTube and these things. You have to do foreign service brat, not a military one. Well, yeah, but it was that's what I mean. He wasn't stuck in a. Thanks for the correction. I think you're right. He was not a military brat, but he was someone who was constantly moving because his parents were in government service. Okay, and therefore foreign service. Or maybe even CIA, right? Parent could have been CIA because a lot of the foreign service people are CIA. Not all, a lot, but that's usually your cover, right? State Department. And therefore always going back, not being America, overseas, going to school and for high advanced mathematics, very smart. He's very smart, but he has no understanding of the humanities. And the idea of this, he likes this. Okay, you say Costin's juvenile and child. I do. I think it is kind of childish. I'm sorry. The reason why it's childish is it's not childish. Maybe that's the wrong word. It's too playful. It's too playful and avoids seriousness, avoids gravity. He will mock things rather than deal with the tragic on its own terms. He likes a tragedy, but then he will then pervert it to make it almost obscene to a great degree. And he has a fetishization of the body. There is a fetishization of the body that I don't even think that is in Nietzsche proper. So, I mean, this is what not his book, and not even Bronze's mindset. I would say that but in his broadcasts, what I've heard, and among the clique that hangs around him, the clique that hangs around him is juvenile in that sense, Yarvin. I just don't think I've never been able to appreciate Yarvin's writing and that stuff because it's kind of like. Okay, say you're jealous of him. No, I'm not jealous of him. Listen. In the 1990s and early thousands, I was very active on the old Leo Strauss list, and therefore things like a lot of these debates we're having now with Michael Anton and things like that. Michael Anton and his position he took as Decius in that Journal of American Greatness that he did, and that became the piece of the Flight 90, that Flight 97. I forget the number. I just don't remember the number. I didn't plan this. This is just responding. This is the problem about the Yarvin, and I think this is the problem with someone like Bannon, is that Bannon doesn't have really a deeper understanding. He understands business, he understands finance, but he doesn't understand history of ideas. And therefore, these kind of people, like Yarvin, like Bannon, get easily attracted to glittery things. Now, BAP is better. BAP knows this stuff. BAP knows the tradition of this. And he understands, and he has a deep understanding of a lot of things because of the Straussian connection to Roger Masters and the crowd like that, and the understanding of biology and things like this. I think that is very, very, very different. I mean, I will say BAP. If BAP is who I think BAP is, then I'm going to say, then no, this is a character. His character, his Bronze Age pervertist may be a persona he has, in that sense, that he's playing a persona to entertain, in that sense. I remember, the discussion I had with him, and if it is the person I met from Yale, the student of Yale, I was talking about to him we met at a conference in I think Philadelphia. I believe Philadelphia. And and he was talking about what, because he was concerned that his promoter, Stephen Smith, Steve Smith is a scum. Okay, I'm not going to say scumbag, but he's kind of like a sellout. He's not a man of the right. He's a man of the center left. He's the man. He is he knows where he's Jewish, liberal Jew, urban, sophisticated. Of course, Yale will hire him, keep him, because it's their token for the, this is, he's not a, this is, he's a conservative voice. And this, I can, and this is where I accept BAP's kind of critique of this Straussian conservatism in this way. American philosophy departments are crap, and yes, I'm disappointed. I mean, it's analytic philosophy, and analytic philosophy is basically nihilism 101. And it's either poetics or nihil. It's let's embrace nihilism American. Alan Bloom's chapter, Nihilism American Style, talking about how German philosophy comes to the American university, is probably a perfect account. But even Bloom was kind of a softie. He criticized it, but he wasn't going to wage war on it. Okay. And people like Steve Smith look at Bloom and say, well, Bloom went too far. Okay. And Steve Smith was always pandering to the center left and to the left on things of race and things like this. And I think Costin was disgusted. Like, listen, I lived in communism. Listen, I knew Steve Smith's book on Hegel was decent. His book on Hegel on Hegelism on liberalism. His book essays on Schmitt, Strauss, and Spinoza, fair. Basically, these are his essays that he's written elsewhere and put together his book. His Spinoza book, decent, not bad. But his liberalism, his post-Trumpian temper tantrum is just pathetic. It's Weasley. It's all the East Coast Straussians trying to, oh my God, Trump is a populist and populist is Nazis. I mean, this is the same argument that Hannah Arendt and the things, certain New York Jews go crazy every time they see, you just read Hannah Arendt about Eisenhower. Oh my God, Eisenhower's Nazi. Come on, this is the Chicken Little. I mean, no, Chicken Little. What is the one? What is the one who said the wolf is crying? The wolf is crying. The boy who cried wolf. This is this New York intellectual Jewish community who's hunting, screaming about Nazis. Say, everyone's a Nazi. Nazi. Netanyahu's a Nazi. Now, when you get real Nazis, with Hamas. Real Nazis. Everyone kind of doubts it. We don't know. We don't. Wait a minute. I thought those were Nazis. We're going to have to, get together in order to do it. So, I mean, I can understand. I sympathize with him, and I kind of warned him, saying, you're not going to get far in academia. If you come out of the closet, this is like coming out of the closet of the right as a right winger, you're fucked in academia. Hence why for over 20 years I've been in exile over here in Central Europe. And it's slowly, the American disease of political correctness and woke is coming here. I just got an email from the pro-rector, or the student ombudsman for student affairs, saying, well, you got to be careful about pronouns, because you shouldn't rely on the official thing, because the official name, you can only put your legal name under that is registered under law. And students may not be using their real name in their identity. So I get like I say, fuck that. I'm sorry. I have to abide by the law. Well, this is what the law, this document, I'm going to read the name. I don't even read names. I've never bothered to read names, student names. I just give them, I give them a sign-in sheet, and then I'm taking it. And if their name doesn't match, they're not there. That's why I kind of say to them, put your student number, please. But if you're not going to use your real name, please. And I think I pissed a couple off, because I had in my Tocqueville class, elective, the second, I had almost a full class of 18. You have limits, 20. 20 is the limit in the thing. I had a full thing of volunteers in this outside university. It was filled until they realized they had to do work. Oh, work! Because they're getting 5 ETS, which is like a huge number of points for this. This is like most things are. If they just want to come, they just simply want to come to class, just to come to class and do an easy assignment. Well, that could only be 1 or maybe 2 ETS credits. My department for this class has designed it for 5 for some reason. I don't know why. I think I would have done it differently. And the fact that they had to do a literature review, which is I give them a series of books that deal with Tocqueville's theme, contemporary books for the last 50 years that deal with Tocqueville's work, and you're going to have to pick one of those books and write a thing on it based on how does this book relate that. Has to be one assignment, and the other assignment is a paper that we just negotiate with about the topic will be on Tocqueville. Some analysis, either a textual analysis or taking an idea from Tocqueville and applying it to contemporary problems or things like this. Now, Glean Glass goes here about poor Butler, Judith. Well, Judith is a crazy, but she's not. She's more sane than other people. Even though she's unreadable and is full of jargon and nonsense, she still believes people should read Plato and Socrates and Locke and these. Because when Sweden tried to force putting women in certain things, she was shocked that you're putting a syllabi, you're forcing teachers to talk about these women writers, simply to do these women writers, and not cover like a course on ancient philosophy that if you don't have a woman writer on it, you can't do it. And she was kind of, she might be a Harvard professor, I doubt it. But she stood up to the, Butler really defended the traditional curriculum. And stood up and criticized the Swedes and the Norwegians and what they did with the gender requirements of every course had to have so many women. If they didn't have it, they weren't going to be allowed to have. Had an equal number of men and women. So and she said that if that was the case, then that was doing dangers and doing violence to the tradition. I was like, when I heard that about this is about 8 years ago when this happened. I was like, oh. Crazy woman sees light. But her sex partner, Wendy Brown, sometimes was good, sometimes crazy. Wendy's kind of an interesting. She's a good teacher, apparently. I know people who worked under her at Northwestern, and worked under her as political theorists. Now jobs elsewhere. Guys, they're kind of lefties. But that's the way it goes, right? But and they all say what a good teacher she was. And when I look at one of her book on Wendy Brown's book on political. The only book I didn't like her recent book on borders, which it just was Nonsense. Okay, is Angela Carter? I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know who it is. I'm a fan. Searle, I just think Searle is just unreadable. I'm sorry, it's just like analytic. I understand people like Searle and things like this. Um, I no, that's neither here nor there. But back to what I mean, I was talking about that only because of what do you call it? My friend Matt Timmon was visiting. We talked politics. We talked Polish politics a little bit. We talked American politics. He's become anti-Trump a little bit. I understand why. He was always a Cruz guy. He was a Cruz guy. He was kind of forced to DeSantis and is upset with DeSantis. Cognitive, okay. Um, he was, so I understand why he's doing, and he's kind of close to Bannon, but he and Bannon has problems. Um, so I'm kind of like happy that okay, he came to see me. We talked around. He brought a gift for me for my friend. I had the book already, but Glenn decided to send me a copy of his book signed with a kind of joke inscription on it about a pole. I believe a pole are better better than frogs. I mean that's Aristophanes things. And well, that's sorry, my stomach is acid. And the other thing is books. Well, books. Honestly, I got the book. There's a book by a British scholar called Traditionalism. It's interesting. I'm going to be looking at it. It's over in my corner over there. And I got my Globe edition of Aristophanes came just after the Aristophanes sessions end. So I was like, oh, cry. I haven't started I've read it one more time, but I need to go read it again. Selective reading. I'm kind of like, it's all right. It's good. It's not. It's the dissertation, not really things. Swedwick. Oh, she's interesting. I mean, Swedwick. It's a guy. I think is analytical philosophy, rationalism. I'm kind of look. I have a lukewarm. I have a very lukewarm relationship. I mean, not lukewarm. I have kind of like a chilly, cold relationship with McIntyre, Alistair McIntyre crowd. I don't really think much of McIntyre. I think it's yes, I'm good, but he's also he still always was a Marxist. He was always a Marxist. He hates liberalism, and his whole position of embracing scholasticism and things is part of what I call a knee-jerk hot hatred of liberalism or capitalism. And I've never been a knee-jerk hater of capitalism. I can see limits of radical capitalism and the dangers of it, but I don't despise. I think to despise capitalism is a kind of childish and silly thing. Sedgwick moral things, but probably Schwedlick is it. If I remember correctly, doesn't Schwedlick kind of agree with the idea of naturalism, the naturalism fallacy? I have to remember. I haven't talked about American philosophy now for decades. So when I do American philosophy, it's like this. So if it is who I think it is, you're talking about, this is Corlitz's post up below there. If it is who I think it is, I'm kind of like saying, I know they're writing essays on naturalism and things like this, naturalism philosophy. And the problem here is it deals with the human person and the ethical thing question. I probably do like it if it's that kind of neo-Aristotelianism or neo kind of model, but I'm just trying to remember the name. going blank. It's I have to sit down. Oh, I'm getting old and less like this. How do I report Hegel? Hegel is still important. Hegel is one of the most important people. Much of postmodern thinking is responding to Hegel still to this very day. So, yeah, traditionalism. Yes, you wrote a book on traditionalism. That's maybe the book I'm thinking of. Yes, it's a UK publisher, Penguin. He's a historian. That should resort. Oh yes, that's over there. I'm not going to get up and show you my ass, but it's over there in the corner. That is the book, Shedwick. I was thinking of the other guy. Yes, Penguin. That is the book I got. Thank you. I thought you were talking about this woman, this analytical philosopher. Isn't it Shedwick like that as well? And I'm saying, that one is that. Well, this is a guy. He's a guy. He's a British historian who writes about the ethno-nationalism too, if I remember correctly. He wrote a book on nationalism. And he wrote a brand new book on traditionalism, yes, which he has a critique of Evola and also the right wing. Okay, I read it. I kind of did a quick read of it. It came like 2 days ago. I got like 3 books 2 days ago. I got that book. I got a book of moral theology about the person by a German author and his idea of the person. Someone who I know and respect said I need to read it. So therefore I got that book. I got the book about that. This is my theology stuff. Yeah. Okay. What is childish? Evola. Evola is weird. I've never understood why people like him. I probably should read him. I read him. I just couldn't read his Third Reich book. It's like, really? I mean, it's not. He's criticizing it. I understand. He's trying to distance himself, but it's. I mean, there's a better argument for fascism than the argument he's making, and his argument of traditionalism is not traditionalism. It's something else. It's vitalism, and it owes more to Spengler than to a traditional element. But that's neither here nor there. I didn't want to spend this time, so I was really hanging out with Matthew because he had to do video. He has to go do an interview with some Polish television guy, so they were going to go do this. So we couldn't really talk long. I went back to make my video making. Today, my former student came by and he brought my drugs from America. Yeah, some over-the-counter medicine. Some Tums. That helps my thing. I can't ship them. My sister won't ship them because they're so expensive to ship. So when people go to America, and I'm not going to go to America this year. I didn't go. I couldn't afford it. I just don't have any money. It's just that's it. It was just so expensive to fly. My wife comes. It's going to be a couple $1,000 just to do it would be $1,000 for the trip plus another $1,000 for the renting the car. And it was like, okay, not going to happen this summer. And I was going to go to a conference. I should go to a conference, but I did this year, and I got sick at the conference at the end of it, and it took me, and it was hard to recover. Getting sick, and then coming back on the plane by myself. My wife was supposed to go, and they said some brisket. Yes, I would love brisket, but you can get, the problem with brisket, you can get it here, but the problem is getting a steam. I don't have a proper, you need to have a steam. What do you call it? A smoker to do it, and I don't have a smoker, and I don't have a place to have a smoker, so it's like, I can't do it on my balcony against the law. Fire police come, and I'm kind of like in a ghetto now, and we're like in a. I mean, I had an apartment before that was kind of bigger. It was two bedroom. Now this is just an efficiency, and I have my office. My office is about the same size as the apartment in that sense. This little shorter, but 2 meters, 3 meters, 3 square meters difference. What to do? So my friend came. I gave him my extra copy of Glenn's book, and I also gave him my extra copy because, hate to say it, Pat sent me a copy of his book too. Oh my God! Because they knew people say, "Oh, you're doing it. I know you're doing it. So why should you do that?" So I said, "Okay." My colleague is working at a Polish institute He's teaching at a private school whose school is dying. And I'm trying to get him a job at my school, but he doesn't think he'll get it because my department is the way. But I think they hire him. Some of the people, in fact, the leading feminist, he studied with the feminist, and the feminist still respects him. So I think, and the director would respect him. So many of those on the right, the fact they get an American degree, he went to LSU for his PhD. I think this is going to be a selling point for, I won't mention his name, even though if he is part of the ruling government party's think tank, which pisses them off, but I think I can con them into hiring him. So I'm hoping that happens. We had a good talk. That was what today was about mostly. My reading? Where am I reading? I mean, my biggest problem is in my Polish school classes. My American school classes, the students are kind of lazy this week. They're not as active. Two of them are the military guys who are just like, you guys are in the military. If I acted that way, I would have been, if I didn't show up in my class that I'm supposed to be taking, I think I'd get rid of. Someone would complain. If I would be afraid that I'd be, my teacher would tell put this on my record that I was not showing up and doing work. These younger generation officers, American, I think they're 20s, like 22, 24, 25. These guys are just so entitled to a degree of and also saying the most silly things. And I was like having a problem saying, no, you can't just write on any topic. You have to write on the topic. They're submitting topics for their research paper for the class, really not off subject of the course. So it's like, no, you have to do, like, speaking about conflict in Africa. I said, no, this is about the development of the state system. So the political development, the concept of the state institution, that how it emerged and developed, that built the interstate system of Europe, that then built the international system. Okay, so we have to look at it's historical. It's a historical thing. So if you want to talk about China's development, you can talk about China. We'll talk about China's historical development. But if you want to worry about Africa, then you have to look at the African problem and on its own terms, in terms of why didn't Africa develop the way it did. You just can't blame it on colonialism because. I hate to say it, Rome really didn't go down there and do much more. I mean, Rome really didn't get there. And the Europeans got there way after Islam did, after 600, 700. So it's hard to say why. And why didn't Africa develop a kind of empire structure like Latin, or like the Middle East and like this? No, but Sub-Sahara doesn't necessarily that colonial. But Sub-Sahara blocked out the development this way. Yes, but the Muslims went over it. The Muslims in the 6th, 7th century just went through it. They conquered all the north up there, and then they went south, and they started enslaving and murdering. So therefore, this is a very interesting question. Why didn't Africa develop? Why did it not move from tribal conflict zones to either a kind of a pre-political empire that was like those places like Africa, like South America? I mean, the closest connection we have of that remaining tribal and not developing a political form is the North American Indians and the Plain Indians. But they were, compared to the sub-Sahara down here, I hate to say it, that's much more resources, more food, more easy climate, much more food, much more things like this. So what's going on here? They never invented a wheel. Exactly. That's these important questions that you have to ask. Why didn't they develop? Why did they not develop agriculture in any realistic way? The same thing is true about the North American Plain Indians. You go to Plabo and those like this. You get the South Indians of the Southwest and the Indians from Mexico. They were agricultural. They were not hunter gatherers. The Plain Indians were hunter gatherers still. the time as they would get contacted, even if they're hunter-gatherers, even if they were hunting fish, they were still hunter-gatherers. And therefore, this is a big problem about this. And hunter-gatherers have a big problem about resource like this, resource allocation. So therefore, the idea of why don't do a topic, if you're going to do about Africa or something like this, you need to address what, I call it African exceptionalism. Why didn't Africa develop empires? South Africa. Oh, but there's Egypt. Well, yeah, Egypt, the Nile and the Egypt plays a very important role of this. And the argument here is that the Nile provided something. You needed to base an agricultural thing. It needed agriculture. The Nile created an agricultural base that then did what? That moved it from nearing pastoral animals. The West, the Arabs east, most of there were mostly pastoral. Arabs mostly were pastoral populations, with only a few commercial centers and trade elements. So that's a very big question that students should address in that sense. What about this? What was it about this that then, when colonialism hit, they were just simply not able to compete with the European powers? There isn't. No, I mean, there's lots of decent books. There's that book called Freedom by I forget his name. It's gonna drive me crazy. Freedom, Black Africans. I mean, a scholar, American historian. The book Freedom. It's called Freedom, about the history of African population, and it was fair. Or even Thomas Sowell's Hit Race, and that is good. Look at Thomas Sowell's huge volumes of this. And if you don't like Sowell, you can find in Sowell references to other material. There's lots of, and there's a couple other people, some interesting historians that I know that are decent in Africa. But I just don't call them at the back of my hand. I remember it. So I'm kind of like, in my American class, I'm kind of like disappointed. My students are kind of slowish. Okay, I'm getting my U.S. Social Security paid for, so yeah, I'm paying my American credit cards with extra money from that school, so that helps. But my Polish class, we had some problems. I think one of my classes is going to get canceled because we have only 4 real students for the pro seminar. But I think that's enough. I think that's a problem. My manager won't make a decision. I should have had my call today. I should have been called today that there's a decision about my situation. There's no decision. So I'm kind of like, what's going on? It's doldrums, and I hate doldrums. I'll check if they canceled my thing, it would be nice if they told me that like Friday they checked their mind. I haven't heard back from them about this. That's kind of really annoying. As a kid, always loved the White Nile and the Blue Nile more books. So, yeah, but that's okay. I mean, one of the most important books out there is called The Anti-Imperialist Mind, published in the late 80s and then republished. It shows that the imperialism was different, that there were different imperialisms. They were both good imperialism and bad imperialism. And therefore, it's not all imperialism is bad. It depended on it. It's a very good book. It was published by a weird publisher and then got republished again. It got survived. The Anti-Imperialist Mind. It was a very good book at the time. And I think it is a useful thing. And that the book I mentioned last week about anti-colonialism or decolonialism, against decolonialism, by the English guy, this English historian who talks about this stuff. And I'm trying to find the book about the argument defending imperialism as a positive thing. I know there's an article that was not published, and it was published by one of the the National Association of Scholars. They published it when I was thinking, about empire, and I want to be check it out. But the other classes, this like I said, the Tocqueville class was very disappointing. Today I have 10 students And the reason why I think they're under 10 students is, like I said, the second they had to do work. And I'm kind of stuck. I can't just not do work. I forgot his name too. I know the guy too. Yeah, Corlitz, I agree with you in this because that's how old I feel, and I can't remember the names of my time as I used to do. But my Tocqueville class is kind of depressing in that I had 20 students almost. I was like, oh yeah, kind of cool. But then the second you told them they had to work, a Canadian that writes about German African. Yeah, German Africa is a real problem. That's really, it's not that nice picture, and it's actually even worse in Belgium, Germany, Belgian Congo. It's like it's a mess. It's a hell. It's so bad that even Conrad, the Polish/English writer, writes The Heart of Darkness about it. Right. In fact, it's a statement about technology in the West and the technological arrogance of the enlightened. It's a nihilistic book, The Heart of Darkness, in a sense. Okay, but enough with Africa. Go back to my Tocqueville. Why did I not doing Tocqueville? Tocqueville, raw, Tocqueville. Yes, the students kind of, when they had to do a real assignment, they kind of ran away. And it's like, oh, you mean I just can't sit here and just, have a test? I have to write a paper. Ooh. So part of me wants to maybe make it easier and do it, but then again, I can't. It's on the USUS already. And next time I do it, and I don't know whether I'm going to have a class on Monday or not. This is like, if it doesn't happen, then I'm going to have to they're going to have to reschedule everything. They haven't told me. So I feel kind of like pissed off. So I'll get back. What else did I say in my little outline that I want to talk about today? I talk about everything I said there. Oh, it's current events. The less I say about this, the better. Because I know a lot of my friends and people like to get mad at me simply because I have no. First of all, Palestinians are not people who I consider, no one considers them worth saving. No one wants them. They are the people who decide. They're the people. They opted in 1946 when Israel was being created under the United Nations agreement. They listened to the other Arab nations saying, "Get up and leave so we can kill your neighbors." They got up and left. And my attitude about this is, no, that says everything you need to know. And the fact that the Israelis aren't the number one killer of Palestinians, remember that. The Jordanians are number one. Prince, not Hussein, it was Prince, not Hussein, it was Prince, I forget his name, the king, Prince Hussein's father on Black Thursday, 1967, 68, slaughtered about 300,000 of them in a football stadium, a series of football stadiums, because that's where the PLO was headed. So the PLO fled from that to 60s to go to Beirut, and then when he gets to Beirut, they create the Lebanese Civil War, and the Lebanese become the next big killers of Palestinians. Number two. Then the next place is the Egyptian government starts wiping them out. I don't know how many, Then the fourth killer is going to be, if I remember correctly, it is the Kuwaitis, I think. Or Kuwaiti may be fifth. I think there's one more country who's I think Syria might have killed a whole bunch too. No, Syria didn't do that. Syria didn't really they didn't get there. It was they were part of the problem in Lebanon. You have to remember the Syrians are Shia. The government of that is Shia. So what Hamas did this last weekend in southern Israel was just reminiscent. You can have all the problems you have with Israel and all the problems you have with American liberal Jews. I really have no stomach for the pompous blowhard of the little dwarf Shapiro. I think he's a pompous blowhard who I wish he shut the fuck up. And I really don't like. He was on this. I've been watching Jordan Peterson a little bit about the biblical things, and this. He wants to be a rabbi. He's like, oh, I'm an expert rabbi, expert lawyer, expert rabbi. I say, grow up. Do something else. Don't make a living shilling. Your whole life is about living off the conservatives in your and the big money behind you, creating you as the kind of respectable conservatism. No, I'm sorry. I've never been a fan. I don't want to say this, but I don't want to. Yes, he's going on his hobby horse, and yes, it's kind of hypocrisy. Why doesn't he, if he thinks this is important, why didn't he join the IDF? My enemies say, why don't you join the Ukrainians? Well, first of all, I'm too old. But he's not. Oh, he's a parent. He's an Orthodox. That's why Orthodox, the idea that Orthodox can't fight in the units. Now, that rich Orthodox guy who paid for like hundreds of people to go back, that's a good story. That's a good story. It wasn't Shapiro. You understand? I think if Shapiro did, he'd take full credit for it. No. I'm sorry. I'm going to say, we're doing this. Why are you saying this now? Because I have to say this. I have to get off my chest because I know many of my people who watch this is going to get mad at me because I'm going to say, look, the Israelis need to blow the fuck out of the place. I'm sorry, they just have to blow the fuck out of the place. They should do to the Gaza what the Romans did to Carthage. Leave it as dust. And let that be as a symbol of what was done was the greatest. It just lies. I'm sorry. I've seen the fucking TikTok stuff. Even the Nazis didn't do live action. Even some of them did, but it was not. Even Nazis did not rape and slaughter and do it on video. Did not then chop babies' heads off. What made the Nazis really was worried about that kind of thing. That's why they created this death camp systems, because they wanted to do it humanely. They wanted to exterminate the Jews, but they wanted to do it humanely. And hence why I was talking about the Wannsee conference in that last video that a couple of days ago. The Hamas and the Palestinians of this have a visceral hatred of Jews that they want to just murder them, rape them, destroy them. There's no reasoning with this. And you have to have the stomach. And we in the West are going to have to learn to on this. Oh, we should not proportional response. No. They are monsters, inhuman monsters. They have revealed themselves by their actions of what they are. And exterminating them is self-defense. Simple. Oh, you're a Nazi. You're just like a Nazi. No. Oh, yeah, what the Jews did. Now, the problem with the whole Nazi argument is it may be even using the Bible logic, because you can even say that the biblical logic of Joshua does argue kind of for a genocide, right? Eliminating all of Haram, right? All the ungodly. But the problem was that it only works is if it's true. Oh, but Jewish power. No, but the argument that they were making about this whole racial science of Nazis, it was simply just nonsense. It's not valid. It's just hatred. It's a hatred that using a justification. And therefore, it wasn't true self-defense. it was envy. Here is envy has led to mass murder and atrocities that make the Nazis look blush. Now, this is what I'm saying. This is why I'll end this on this. Why it's so sad in that sense. People say, "Oh, wait for Ukraine," and then I'm gonna get criticized. Oh, you're just a neocon. You're just a neocon, war-loving neocon. Oh, the fact that these Hamas has kidnapped, at least killed 20-something American citizens, blow the fuck out of them. I would, if you can't rescue, if you can't send special forces, if they're not using the special operation SIA and Green Beret teams and sending in Delta and SEALs to get these hostages out in 72 hours, and this administration is sorry on this. They should have their teams immediately involved. But then again, they have people still being held captive in fucking Afghanistan. And so therefore, I don't expect nothing from Biden. They may talk tough, but they'll do shit. Oh no, there's no comparison. Yeah, but they'll do nothing. Blinken, who said that stupid thing in front of with the Turkish ambassador, said that we for peace. He tweeted it and deleting it. If Blinken did say that, he should be forced to resign. There's no things here. This is a war, and like the Japanese, the Japanese had to be obliterated before they were willing to accept things. The Germans had to be obliterated before they were willing to accept surrender that they've lost. So and this is something in my one of my teachers and one of my people influenced me, Angelo Tocqueville, always said that if you don't believe you've lost, then you've not. If the enemy doesn't believe they've lost, and they have lost, then the war isn't won. Okay, that's why World War I wasn't really won in that sense, because the Germans didn't think they lost. They thought they were betrayed. That's why American Vietnam was. They didn't think they lost. I think this is the problem with Americans in Afghanistan. There's a whole generation. Why did we go to this war? We weren't in touch. The idea is that's be another topic for another day. And I'm already at 7 minutes over. I don't want to go too far over. I know I like to keep this an hour. I ended on this theme because it's unpopular in that sense. What to do with political thinking? Well, to what degree is Hamas a totalitarian, a racial, not theological? It is uses theology, but adopts a theistic or religious or racial hatred, taking in from post-colonialism. So it's the mixture of a hatred with post-colonial thinking and critical race thinking. Oh no, but you asked me about Ukraine. Yes, they'll win. The war of attrition, yeah, they'll win. I'm sorry. Not because they have more people, but they're killing more of them. Today, I just saw the reports, and the Ukrainians, the Russians may be killing 5 or 6 Ukrainians at most a day, but the Ukrainians are killing 600 to anywhere between 250 to 600. Like the big assault that has happened in the east and the eastern area, that is big. The Russians just sent basically 500 troops right in it, and then the cluster ammunition just shredded them. They lost 50% of their units right then and there. I mean, this is observable from not only, this is also, you get this information from the Russians. So my networks are not just only Ukrainian or Polish or American, they're also Russian, because the Russian bloggers are doing this. And the Russians are having a big problem. They can't get enough people. And they can't do that because Putin has an election coming. he cannot mobilize the urban populations, because if he does that, he will piss off the very voting, the things that they were so they're not really for him, against him, but they're not activated. And if he demands, if he puts a cost on these wealthy people in the urban areas in St. Petersburg and this, it's not free and fair elections. It's not a question of that. It's a question of support. I mean, they can win the election but lose because what happens when the resentment of these people start resenting and turn to more extremist or more willing, competent persons. This is the thing. I don't, the more you look at Putin, you see the way Putin governs. It's out of having, he surrounds himself with incompetent people. And that what's happening is the level of incompetence and disasters are getting worse. The weapon scandals, the equipment scandals, the kleptocracy is so bad that they don't have even the equipment to supply. Oh, the Chinese are going to send it. No, they're not, because the Chinese will only do it. The Chinese only care about one thing: money, 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 money. And they really are looking for Russia to collapse so they can move northward. So no, this idea that the Russians are you have to remember, the Soviet Imperial Russia and the Soviet Union could waste human beings because they had Ukraine. They don't have Ukraine. They don't have the East anymore. The eastern provinces, the eastern areas are not the non-Russian area states. The Asiatic territories of the former Soviet Union are not sending volunteers. The second they send volunteers, the volunteers defect and they come back home. And the second they do, they start shooting each other. The stories of the Tassics and the Asian volunteers from the East, from way out from Vladivostok, who came to fight in the units, were blue on blue conflict. So no one ever spoke Ukrainian until no, that's not true. That is not true. I'm sorry. They spoke, the regional people, the ethnic population spoke Ukraine. The peasants spoke Ukrainian, not Russian. That was this idea that they spoke Ukrainian only. That no, only the elites didn't speak because the elites were Russian. Okay, and it became that rustic language in 1992. No, but that's all. I hate to say it. Those groups are not underclass. They were many of them were the bourgeoisie leadership that were decommunized. They joined the Nazis. They fled to the West. You have to understand that this joke about what happened in Canada, about them shearing that guy was probably a lower middle, not a rube. He was a Ukrainian, part of what we call the Ukrainian bourgeoisie in that sense. Yeah, they fled to Canada. Yes, because why? Because the communists were going to exterminate them, as they did, like they did in Poland too, with with what's its name, the Catlin massacre. So this is why Blood Grounds is a very good book. Timothy Snyder is good on this. We can't talk about this question of Nazi, that Ukrainian Nazi collection and not cooperate. I mean, if you look at the Ukrainian point of view, just suffering the complete genocide under the Soviets in the 1920s and early 30s, the Nazis come across as liberators. And if the Nazis weren't genocidal fuck-ups and caring more to killing Jews and exterminating the inferior peoples, and rather really anti-communist nationalists, the Ukrainians would have joined, all of the fucking Russians would have joined them and defeated the communists. So, I mean, this is the sorry thing about this. Let's be honest. This idea that the Russians, I mean, the only way Stalin saved himself was by turning it into the Great Patriotic War. Brought the religion out. Used the nationalism, used everything that he despised in order to motivate the population to win, and then he could just slaughter them. The Russians only did make ground it. I mean, even though they had generals capable I mean, the war with the Japanese was the Japanese outnumbered them in the more mobile Russians, the more smaller mobile Russian force defeated Japan in 38, 39. I think that war and that little brief conflict between Russia and Japan in Mongolia is a classic, and it's mobile. It's Russia can do, but the Russians can't do it because its larger armies are so multiracial, multi-ethnic. They don't have linguistic capacity. They don't have the capacity to do things. Again, Russia. I mean, I don't want to get into a big thing. Yeah, that's the whole problem. This is the argument by many people geopolitically because of the plains, right? Because there's no natural north-south borders, geographic borders that really provide any mechanism to protect Russia. They're totally vulnerable to the Germans, not only Germans, but remember, Germany wasn't unified until 1900s. So it was the Prussians and the Swedes. Remember, it was the biggest enemies of the Russians were the Swedes, and the Prussians, and the Poles. Remember, the Poles were the only non-Asiatic, not the Tatars. The Asiatic Tatars who captured Moscow. The Poles are the only people who successfully captured Moscow and controlled it for about a month or two before they're giving it up, saying, I don't want it. The Jewish dude in Property and Freedom writes about that plain issue with Russia. Classic book. What is it? Pipes, Richard Pipes. Well, that's it. I'm already at my 15-minute mark. Over. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop. Nice talking to you guys. We have like people leave, people come and go. Maybe, as we say, people come and go. Talking to Michelangelo using T.S. Eliot. Love song of Puff Rock. Okay, take care. If you like it, like it. Like the video, like it. Hit it out there. You didn't like it, you can say, I didn't like it. Really bad show. Disorganized today. Really bad. Little not that organized. You can follow me on social media links, the academic social media links link. If you want to help me do what I do, well, maybe start contributing to Subscribe Star. Maybe these sets will be much better than they are now. Another thing is, you can buy one of my books listed. The links are listed below. Not links, but the books are listed below. I think I didn't want to put links because I didn't want to automatically go to Amazon. It'd be impossible to have every link to everything. That's it. You can like it, dislike, say what's wrong, and subscribe. That's it. Well, take care. Have a good weekend. Have a good party. Bye-bye. Party hardy. Take care.